Hey, thanks everyone for coming back to Four Boxes to check out the fifth video, which is the introduction to the fourth box of Liberty. If you've been keeping up, and I suggest you do, you would understand where we are with the fourth box of Liberty. If you don't know, please go back, check out the other videos. They're all pretty short and they're all decent little introductions as to what we're talking about. I would ask you, please like this video, share this video with friends, share the information with friends. That's what this is all about. And as well, click subscribe. I appreciate that a lot. And hit notifications so that when I have a video, you'll know it. It'll let you know. YouTube will let you know. And I really would appreciate that. So it's kind of warm out here and really enjoying a beautiful day. I'm here at the Woodland Cemetery Veterans Memorial. I thought this would be a nice backdrop for this small conversation. So this is in Woodland Cemetery in Ironton, Ohio. And you can come on out and see this beautiful view and pay your respects to the veterans of this area is what this is dedicated to. But I thought it would be a great backdrop. So in any case, the fourth box. The fourth box of Liberty, and comes the caveat, of course, use in order. So in other words, this is the last resort. The fourth box is the cartridge box, and the cartridge box is the ammunition box, or the box of ammunition, or your firearms is the idea. All those concepts are within obviously the phrase cartridge box as a protection on our liberties. So how does a cartridge box protect our liberties? First of all, this derives obviously from the natural right of we have the right to keep and bear arms. The people have the right to keep and bear arms. And just to let you know, kind of a little intro on the Second Amendment, right to keep and bear arms, as well as the fourth box of Liberty here. The right to keep and bear arms is not part of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment gives us no right to keep and bear arms. As a matter of fact, it pre-exists the Second Amendment. None of our amendments, none of our constitutional rights are given to us by our government. They simply existed before, and they are published. They're ensconced and protected by our Constitution, not granted by our government or even granted by our Constitution. Let me read to you the Second Amendment. I've got my little pocket Constitution here. Here's the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So here's what that's saying in modern English. If we were writing it today or talking about it to each other, we would say something along these lines. We'd say, because the people have a right to keep and bear arms, pre-exists, because the people have the right to keep and bear arms, we shouldn't infringe on that, because a militia may be necessary to keep the state free. See how that's very different than the way it's generally interpreted? And that's actually all it's saying. It's really not near as complicated as it's made to be quite often. It's not about collective right versus individual at all. A militia is a collective thing, but it says the right to keep and bear arms, meaning it's referring to it something that already is. It's not saying, hey, we need to give the people a right to keep and bear arms because one day we may need them in a militia to protect the state. It doesn't say that. It says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed because a militia is necessary for a free state. So lately, after the Parkland shooting, we heard a lot about even repealing the Second Amendment. You could repeal the Second Amendment. I mean, it's possible. It's part of the Constitution, even though it is considered a super amendment that is part of and cannot be amended by a lot of constitutional experts. However, it could technically be done away with. It doesn't do away with the right to keep and bear arms, because the right to keep and bear arms is something that pre-exists our Constitution and our government. As a matter of fact, I would say that as we currently think of it, the right to keep and bear arms was granted to the British people as part of the Glorious Revolution of 1688. Something I may do a show on later, but the right to keep and bear arms was known by our founding fathers to be something they were born with, and the people before them were born with. It's what they called a natural right. So not something that can be done away with that simply. See, the sun's changing angle on me here. I'm getting a little dark, it appears. I'm still learning the video thing. Those of you that have been watching know that sort of figuring out as I go, and thought this was good, but maybe it's gonna make me a little dark. But in any case, I'm gonna keep on going and get this done because I wanna make sure I get this video published. It's been a week. Don't wanna do that too much. My goal is every 3 days. So hit the notifications, you'll be kept up. So the people have a right to keep and bear arms. And it says right in the Second Amendment, that is necessary that it's important we don't infringe on it because a militia is necessary to a free state. and the people's right to keep and bear arms are required for the creation of a militia if it becomes necessary. So, how would that keep us free? How does that give us liberty? It keeps the government from thinking they can do anything they want. That's what we hope it does. I hope it never gets used. I hope it's never necessary to use it. I hope we never have to go to arms against our own government or a foreign invader. However, it's there if necessary. And we, the people, are the government of the United States, not the government that we formed. That's why our Constitution starts with we, the people. We formed the government. The government is us. It doesn't work for us in the sense we pay it. It works for us in the sense that it doesn't exist without we, the people. Not the other way around, which is what makes America and its founding so very different than the rest of the world. So it's important you understand that exercising your right to keep and bear arms and staying current on what's going on in our government and being willing, using your voice, using your vote, using your ballot, using your ability legally to stop our government when necessary is important. None of us, I don't think any true patriot wants to go to arms against any portion of the United States. That is not a wish. That is not a desire of a true patriot, in my opinion. I am not for really being part of active militias. I'm not for active threatening our government or anything like that. I don't want anything like that to be misconstrued as any of my intent here. My intent is to educate so that those things don't become necessary, never become necessary. The 4 boxes of liberty, use in order. Box number 1, soapbox. That's what I'm doing with this YouTube channel. I'm using the soapbox provided by modern technology and my voice. I want you to do the same. I want you to take these videos and spread them throughout friends, family, share them with strangers, wherever you need to. That is the soapbox. YouTube, this video is the soapbox. And all the things we'll do on this channel in the future will be all soapbox. We may let you know it's time to use another box, like a ballot, like a jury box. I hope the day never ever comes in America for my kids, for my grandkids, and for theirs that we would ever have to use the 4th box, the cartridge box. But the way you don't need it is to make sure you're ready to use it. That's how that one never becomes necessary. Wore my cool shirt today. It's got George Washington holding an M4, and if he was around today, yeah, absolutely, no doubt. I have no doubt in my mind. He was very familiar with the modern firearms of the time and was always about new technology. His technology doesn't seem like technology to us, but he was a researcher, he was a developer. Yeah, he would have been all over the M4. He would have been all over some of the other guns too. He'd have been figuring out how they could have gained him an advantage against the British if that was the case. Behind me, I've got some cannons that they use here for display in the Veterans Memorial, but I thought they would be a good backdrop for this concept. I won't go in depth as to more of what I believe about the Second Amendment, but just suffice it to say that the people need to be armed for our own protection. But that's not what the Second Amendment is about. The Second Amendment is about the state, and you got to remember who the Second Amendment was written by. It wasn't written by the federal government. The Constitution created the federal government. The Bill of Rights put restrictions on the federal government. They're like putting a collar, a leash on the federal government. It's written by the states, representatives of the states. And those amendments had to be ratified by the states to become actual amendments, to be effective. So what you've got when you read the Bill of Rights is you've got a list of rights or a list of protections of rights against the federal government toward the states and the people. We'll get into 9th and 10th Amendments some other day. But the Second Amendment is the states saying to the federal government, you can't infringe on the people's right to keep and bear arms, because one day they may need to exercise those rights in form of militia to keep the states free. Free from who? I'll tell you, in the debates where these things were created, it's from foreign invaders and the federal government itself. But the Second Amendment does not give anybody any rights. The right pre-existed. The right pre-existed. The right to keep and bear arms pre-existed. The Second Amendment just says, hey, because one day we may need it, you can't touch it. Now, we've let them touch it, and they've gone further, I believe, than our Second Amendment would legitimately allow. However, that's a different debate for a different day. I want you to understand with this closing box what the boxes are about. They're about protecting your liberty, but you've got to exercise them. I'm constantly amazed at the people that will like my videos, they'll like my Facebook, they'll like Instagram, things I say, and they don't share it. You've got to share this. We've got to become the same kind of echo box the left is. I don't know if you noticed, but they echo everything they say, and we've got to do the same. You've got to spread the word. If you don't want to say it yourself, use me. Put mine out there. I'm not saying that's what my goal is. I want to educate, teach. I want you to spread what you know. We've got to become a louder voice. We that are your average Americans, your hardworking, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens have got to become a bigger voice. I'll get just a tiny bit into current events to show what I'm saying. Why is it the majority of our politics today are about such a tiny, minute piece of people in our country? No matter what you believe about LGBTQ, whatever today, no matter what you believe about trans or et cetera, it's such a tiny piece of America. Immigrants, illegal immigrants specifically. Why is our government so fixated on those that aren't even us? They aren't representing us. No matter what you feel about illegal immigration, pro, con, whatever, why would our government be so fixated on people that aren't its own they're not representing? They have no mandate to worry about those people at all. But they're spending so much of our time. We've got to become a bigger voice, okay? You don't have to get into it like I do. You don't have to become get a history degree. You don't have to do a YouTube channel. You don't have to fixate on it on all your Facebook posts like I do most of the time. But you've got to begin being a voice. And if you don't want to be, at least share those that are. I understand that, and that's fine. Listen, I'm going to close up for now. Please share it or use your own voice, one or the other. But don't just don't just listen and stop. We've got to become a huge echo chamber like the left is, like those that want to take our freedoms, take our liberties. Now, the next video is going to be about liberty. So I want to explain what liberty is, because a lot of people don't understand it, and you can't miss and you can't be upset about something you don't even know what it is. So anyways, like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notifications so you get them all, okay? Let's get out there, let's be a voice, and let's hope that's all we ever need to be, is a voice. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time. It'll be about liberty. Thanks.